Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and we have a crazy exciting review today. It's a figure that we've been waiting for quite a little while, and of course it is a Nanmu figure. You've probably already figured it out just by the title alone and the thumbnail, but looking at the box, you can quite easily tell what is inside, and it is a very large Mosasaurus. This box is extremely large, quite easily the biggest Nanmu figure that we have had so far. There is no questions asked there. Of course, it should be as far as matching up to the way it sizes in the Jurassic films, but you can really see just in general this box is massive. It's pretty much your typical Nanmu box artwork, so it does look really quite nice, but definitely a very nice image here of the Mosasaurus on the front. I'm still just really impressed overall by the size of the box, because it is really big, which causes me to have a little bit of difficulty actually moving it around in here. But you can see the back is pretty much just the same as it usually is as far as what you find on a Nanmu box, which means it is a really nice, very beautiful looking box. But what we're interested in is what lurks inside, so let's go ahead and open it right now. So once we go ahead and open it up, we have pretty much your standard Nanmu art card in here, which is really beautiful. I absolutely love these images, these kind of hand-drawn images that you tend to get of the figures themselves. I'm not too sure who the artist is that does them, but wow, do they ever do a good job. Absolutely gorgeous illustrations of the Mosasaurus. And then for even more beauty, we turn it around and we have an absolutely majestic image of our Mosasaurus, nicely swimming around the oceans like it should be. Really nice, very fantastic art card as always. And then we also have our human character, which is way too bright to see right there, and in the bag it's even worse, so let's go ahead and get him out. And here we are. It is, if we can get the camera to focus on him a little bit, it is Ian Malcolm running with the flare, which is nice to have an Ian figure now as well. I really want to paint all of these figures at some point. I haven't done it yet, but I definitely want to at some point, because I can imagine these figures probably look amazing with paint on them, because they seem to be beautifully sculpted. And then we have the star of the show, and that is our Mosasaurus, who now is too low. So there is the Mosasaurus. Straight away looks amazing, honestly. Fresh out of the box. It is absolutely gorgeous and ridiculously huge. It is really long, which is just very impressive to me how long it actually is here in person. I expected it to be big, but I'm very impressed overall by the size of this, and just the price alone. It's like $100 for this, so that is incredible for a figure of this size, considering the initial Indominus Rex, the Berserker Rex, was right around the $100 range roughly. So for this to be the same price is really impressive to me, because it's much larger than the Berserker Rex was. But anyway, I am really excited to get a nice closer look at this, so let's go ahead and do that right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Mosasaurus, you can see just in general, the skin texture is absolutely gorgeous, and there is a ton of work that was put into the sculpt of this figure. You can just see so much beautiful detailing as far as the skin texture goes all over the head sculpt of this Mosasaurus. Really nicely sculpted out lower jaw as well. Very beautiful movement here, kind of shown throughout the skin down into the throat. You can see the throat of the Mosasaurus sticking out right there. Lots of skin folding and skin wrinkling going on right in that area. The eye area is really nicely sculpted. Beautiful detailing in the eye socket area, as well as a beautifully painted eye with a nice black pupil. You can see over here the nostrils are sculpted out up here. Very nice detailing, beautiful scaling all over the top of the head of the Mosasaurus. Really nice sculpt work. Very impressive stuff. Of course, we do have an articulated jaw, which that's actually really smooth as far as the articulation goes. I think that is the best that a Nanmu articulated jaw has worked so far. Although the Indominus, the Berserker Rex, actually did work really quite well. But this one is really smooth. You can see the inside of the mouth here has a very nice gloss coat to it, an extremely realistic look to the entire inside of the mouth. An absolutely beautiful, very realistic paint application included in there. Impressively well done. Even the tongue, which it's a little hard to actually see, but appears to have quite a bit of paint variation included to it. And again, that gloss coat makes everything look just super lifelike, extremely realistic. Look at the inside of the mouth up here on the upper jaw. Man, that is just unbelievably impressive. If I get a good view of it with the light, look at how realistic that looks, and you can see that the teeth on the inside here are sculpted out in there. They are painted really nicely. And the teeth are all painted again beautifully, and they're given like a yellowish coloration, which is a very realistic coloration, I think. Much more realistic than had they just given them a nice white. So they really did a great job on the overall realism of the figure, and they almost have that translucent type of a look, which a lot of the Nanmu figures have, which makes the teeth look like real, genuine, living animal teeth, which is even more impressive. And they're actually a little bit sharp for the most part. I mean, they're not super sharp to the point where they're going to cut somebody, but they definitely have a bit of sharpness to them, which is also even more impressive. So the entire mouth of this Mosasaurus is extremely, extremely impressive to me. Very nicely sculpted. The detailing on the inside of the mouth is just unbelievable, but the paintwork and the nice gloss coat just has such an incredibly realistic look continuously on every Nanmu figure, and this Mosasaurus is absolutely no different. You can also see the skin flap here on the inside of the mouth is painted and sculpted beautifully as well when you open the mouth, and you do get a nice look at that. It looks gorgeous just like everything else does. As we start to move down the neck again, we have lots of kind of wrinkling going on here. You can make out sort of the bone structure a little bit of the Mosasaurus within. You can also see some nice kind of bone structure and movement shown right here where the fin here attaches, the flipper here attaches. As we come down here, you can see some more really gorgeous sculpt work the entire way out. Look at how realistic that looks. And you have kind of some osteoderms here and there, and I love the way they painted it, giving it a little bit of like a lighter blue and then a darker blue, and there's also been a nice darker wash, like almost like a khaki wash that's included in lots of areas on this. You could see it up here in the face if you get really nice and close. You could see it down here again, and just in general in certain areas, like even in the stomach, you can pick up on it, which looks really, really nice and gives it some very nice color variation as well. Beautiful osteoderms all over the upper side here of this Mosasaurus, and then you have those very cool scoots and the ridges that run down the mid-back area, the spinal column, as well as some very nice, very large scales you could see all over the place, and everything is painted to perfection. There doesn't appear to be any sloppiness at all. Nice detailing here in the stomach. Again, lots of really nice skin texture, and you could pick up on osteoderms here and there, and you could probably see that wash that I was talking about where it's kind of like a beige or a khaki wash that's included, giving it a very cool appearance, and definitely looks really nice with that wash. I really do quite like that. The entire underside has a very nice appearance as well. You can see the muscles of our Mosasaurus bulging a bit there in the chest, and you can see just in general that the underside is very nice and smooth, pretty much like you would expect it to be, and it's really beautifully detailed at the same time. Like, it looks really smooth, but once you actually look at it and get it up close, you can definitely see some really nice skin texture that is sculpted out and included here on the underside, and that runs the entire course of the underside and looks unbelievably nice the entire way out onto the tail. And then coming back here again, look at all the detailing right here where that flipper kind of connects to the body. It's just unbelievably well sculpted, and you can pick up again the osteoderms that just are appearing here and there all over the Mosasaurus. Gorgeous, gorgeous detailing here of this back flipper, and I love the way that these are kind of pushed back because it almost feels like it's trying to project itself through the water, and I think that is really nicely done. Very beautifully sculpted, really nicely painted. Again, you can see quite a bit of variation of color included, and this thing is really beautifully painted, like extremely realistically painted. And then we start to run out the length of the tail, and you can see lots of creasing going on in the tail, lots of osteoderms again as we lead out to the end of the tail here, which looks just as gorgeous as everything else does. These ridges get very large as we get to the tip of the tail, and then we have this very beautiful ending to the tail here, which looks really nicely painted, really nicely sculpted. It has like a darker blue up here and then a lighter blue here on the underside. And again, that paint work on this is just off the charts. It really looks very nicely done as far as I'm concerned. You're probably not going to see too much difference on this side as we saw on the previous side, but we'll take a look regardless. And you can see, again, some very nice movement over here being shown as far as kind of like the skin wrinkling and skin bunching up and stuff. The throat is visible once again over here. Lots of really nice creasing going on in the skin. Very nice detailing again as we come down to this flipper over here, which looks gorgeous, just like it did on the other side. Beautifully sculpted and painted in every possible way. And then you can see a really nice area here of the detailing of the side and the stomach region and all the creasing going on all the osteoderms and that kind of khaki wash creeping through in certain areas, especially on this side because now the skin is stretched a lot more than you see over here because the Mosasaurus is turned a little bit to its left. It definitely has a good bit of a left turn going on, which previously I thought this was just totally straight, and that is not actually the case. It does have a left turn going on, and you can see the skin stretched a little more so over here than we saw on the previous side, and I think it looks really cool. Very nice attention to detail on the part of Nanmu. And then we come back here again to the rear flipper, and you can see lots of really beautiful skin detail there right at the base of the flipper, and the flipper itself looks gorgeous, just like every other one so far has. Really nice detailing, beautifully painted, very nice kind of osteoderms picking up here and there. And then we move out the length of the tail, and you can kind of see like variations of blue included as well, just making sure it has an extremely realistic look to it as far as the color variation, and again those nice ridges that run along the back of the Mosasaurus all the way out here to the tip of the tail. Oh man, this thing is just unbelievable. I am so psyched about this Mosasaurus. Every Nanmu release that comes out, I am more and more impressed with each and every one of them, and this Mosasaurus is definitely one of the best so far. And to give you another closer look here at Ian, he's again going to be very hard to really take in how nicely sculpted he is, and the detailing and everything, being that he's a whitish coloration, kind of glossy. You can't really see too much detail on him, but he is really quite nice. Now, as far as the size goes on our Mosasaurus, and this is going to be quite a lengthy figure for sure, we'll keep the face here in frame so we can kind of measure this out. Even though it's upside down, it's about the 22-inch range, or about 56 centimeters. Now, however, mine actually has a little bit of a bow going on here in the tail. He's got kind of like a bent tail. When I had seen the images online, I assumed it was a perfectly straight figure. Mine, however, the tail is bending. I don't know if it's supposed to be bending or what exactly, but I think it might just be bending because of the way it was in the packaging. Regardless, mine does have a pretty strong turning going on to the tail, and you can see that here. I actually like it better, I think, like this than the initial kind of straight out tail position, because I feel like the straight out tail position, although it looks nice, is just a little bit lifeless. So having this turn in the tail, I think personally, actually makes it a good bit nicer than I initially thought it was. But we'll go ahead and get a height on our Mosasaurus, which you're not going to probably find too much height. Yeah, probably about the 3-inch range, maybe 3¼ inches, and about 8½ centimeters to the top of the back. And then for the head, about 2¾ inches, or around 7 centimeters. But for a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon next to our Mosasaurus here, which you can now see is definitely quite large in comparison to these figures here, especially Mr. Paporex, who is a decently sized figure back there. You should have a pretty good idea that this Mosasaurus definitely sports some pretty significant size. And for another size comparison, here is the Nanmu Berserker Rex and the Nanmu Spinosaurus. Of course, this is the limited version, the brownish version. Next to our Mosasaurus here again, showing you that the Mosasaurus is huge, and the tail actually comes all the way over here. So there's quite a bit more of the Mosasaurus left that you can't really see too well, because again it is incredibly long. But hopefully this will also help give you an idea of the size of this. If you happen to have any of the other Nanmu figures here, you should have a pretty good idea that this Mosasaurus is massive. So this brand new Nanmu Mosasaurus is definitely awesome. As far as the sculpt goes, the sculpt is beautiful in every way, and I feel like it really nicely matches up and portrays the Jurassic World version of the Mosasaurus. I think they 1000% hit the nail right on the head as far as sculpting out pretty much a perfect rendition of the Jurassic World Mosasaurus, and it looks unbelievably gorgeous in person. The amount of detail included on this Mosasaurus is just jaw-dropping. There is so much detail to be found all over this Mosasaurus, which is a continuing trend with Nanmu, as they never go lazy at all. They always put their all into every release, and you can see that continuously with each and every figure that does come out. But you could just see, looking over this Mosasaurus, especially when you look up on the back, the top of the Mosasaurus, there is just an incredible amount of sculpt and detail put into this Mosasaurus. Every spot you look at it, incredible is pretty much the only word I can use to describe the sculpt work of this Mosasaurus, as it looks absolutely beautiful in every area. The paint as well is really, really nicely done. I think as far as this matching up to the prototype, it is really darn close. I don't see too much difference at all here in person as far as the paintwork goes, and I actually think it looks pretty much just as I remember it in the promotional images. Beautifully painted, so many really nice different tones of color included. There's a very nice dark blue that runs along the upper part of the body, and then once you come down into the lower part of the body a little bit, it tends to reach a really nice like lighter blue. And then there's also another variation of blue that's kind of been dry brushed over certain areas, which really brings out some of the detail quite nicely, and then it transitions back and forth between darker and lighter blues throughout the entire body in very, very realistic fashion. You also have that nice wash. It's kind of like a khaki or like a beige wash that's included in certain areas on the Mosasaurus, which brings the detail out really nicely, and also just in general looks extremely realistic on the figure. And all of the scoots and ridges and everything that run along the back all the way down onto the tail are painted with like a goldish brown, and that as well looks really beautiful and impressively well done because there's no real sloppiness on this figure anywhere that I can really see. And then of course once you actually go into the mouth of the Mosasaurus, it is a whole nother world of unbelievable in there as well because it's just incredibly realistic looking. Nanmu is just awesome at creating a very realistic inside of the mouth of all of their figures, and that is exactly what you find here on the Mosasaurus. The teeth look like real animals' teeth. The inside of the mouth looks like a real animal's inside of the mouth. It's just very beautifully painted, so many different tones of color used, and an incredible gloss coat to top it all off. And the teeth having that very nice translucent, very realistic look is just the icing on the cake as far as the inside of the mouth of the Mosasaurus goes. And then you have the addition of a really cool Ian Malcolm figure to continue to pile on those awesome Jurassic Park or Jurassic World inspired human characters. And then the addition of an articulated jaw on the Mosasaurus. I mean, honestly, what more could you ask for? This figure is awesome in every possible way. So if you would like to pick this up, I will include a link to Dan's Dinosaurs, so you can go ahead and head on over there and pick one up right now. And I 1000% recommend that you do just that, because this is an incredible, incredible figure. So again, check the description, head over to Dan's Dinosaurs, place an order for this beautiful Mosasaurus, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.